Welcome to Friday Night Chats with Garage Geek. I hope everybody had a nice week. I am trying out a new system of transitions that I'm going to be using in my Friday night videos. Now, what I hope to do is I hope to be able to do my Friday night chats in OBS Studio, where I would be talking to you now and I could click a button and it will show the transition. And that will be a way for me to do my Friday night chats without having to edit them. But I will be able to add things in like transitions. But I'm not there yet. So I am recording this today and I'm going to be removing the background. I just thought I would have a little fun with this. Now I'm going to show two books and they have green covers, so I just hope they're going to, they won't disappear. I'm going to keep them right here so that, because it's taking the person background, so maybe it won't intrude to this level. But I read two more of the Penguin Moderns. Now I used to do one per day, but I stopped doing that. So now I'm reading them more at a much more leisurely pace. The first one I read was this Danilo Kiss, The Legend of the Sleepers, and this is number 11. And this one had two stories inside of it, The Legend of the Sleepers and Simon Magus. Both of these were really interesting and weird stories. So in the Quran, there's a story of these men who go into a cave and they sleep, kind of like a Rip Van Winkle story, and it's passed down. And I guess this story, there's an equivalent of this in Christianity as well. But Danilo Kiss makes a very surreal story out of this. He takes a very interesting premise and he makes it very surreal. I didn't hate the story, but I didn't exactly love it either. It's very well written.
So when I eat it, the grease will lubricate my throat.
Now, the second story is Simon Magus, and I enjoyed this one a lot more. This is a story that takes place after the crucifixion of Christ, and we have Christ's disciples roaming the countryside and going into towns and preaching. And Simon Magus is someone who preaches that there is more than one truth. There's not just the truth of Christ. It was a very interesting and very well-written story. I enjoyed that one a lot more than I did the first one.
You probably think I'm the greasy strangler. That's why you won't grease my dog.
Now, the 12th book in this series is The Black Ball by Ralph Ellison. This is, I believe, 4 short stories, and all of these were really good. In fact, the last one was really emotionally impacting. It was really well written. So the first story is called Boy on a Train, and this is a mother taking her son back to the South. She had gone north to find a better life with her husband. Something happens to her husband, and we get the sense that the woman is returning to the South kind of in shame. Her dealing with her child on the train, and the train is kind of a microcosm of the society. She's got to be in the baggage car with her son. And it goes from there. Jaime's Bull. This is the story of train drifters, African Americans who are living on freight trains, and how they have to deal with racism and people always after them to beat them up and get them off the trains. The Black Ball was a very affecting story of a father who is working in an apartment complex. And he's African American, and he's taking care of his son who's 4 years old. And his son is just learning about race, and the father is trying to navigate his way through society and to raise his son. But he realizes that he is going to have to teach him about what is going on in the world. There's also an element of unions in the story, which I thought was pretty interesting. And finally, the best story of the bunch was In a Strange Country. And this is an African American who is in Wales, I believe, and he gets beaten up by some other American soldiers. A man helps him and takes him into a bar, and then he invites him to a concert of people performing and singing, local people. The man is moved because the singers near the end of the concert starts singing the national anthem for the different people who are in the audience, and they know he's there, and they turn to him and they start playing the American national anthem. And he's so torn. As an African American, he doesn't know how to feel, because of course he has pride of where he comes from, but really what is there to be proud of? But it's just this feeling that overcomes him. And without knowing it, he starts singing along. And it's a very affecting story. I thought it was so well written and very thought-provoking. That is Ralph Ellison, The Black Ball, and Danilo Kiss, The Legend of the Sleepers. Those are numbers 11 and 12 in the Penguin Modern series.
Oinker, where did you get those shoes?
I'm renting them, and I'm absolutely loving it.
Very good shoes, Oinker.
I have been listening to The Count of Monte Cristo, and that sucker is 47 or 49 hours long, and I have 8 hours left. And I am really enjoying it. It is basically a revenge tale. The beginning of it is excellent, but then when we get to Paris, for about 30 hours, it just slows way down. It doesn't mean it's bad. It gets slow, and I think that's part of the importance of the novel, because it's showing what the upper class society is like in Paris. And I think that's one of the points of the book, but it really does slow down. And like I said, it's like 30 hours. I have about 8 hours left, and I'm really getting into the revenge part of it, so it's getting exciting again. I'm not saying that it's bad. So I'll probably do another micro review of that book next week. So I have 5 movies and shows to discuss with you today. The first one is Fountain of Youth. I think I watched this one on Apple TV. My husband and I were just looking for something fun to watch in the afternoon, and this looked like an action movie, and it is very recent. We ended up enjoying it. It's a fun movie that has a lot of shades of different adventure movies like Indiana Jones and that kind of thing. I mean, you can't escape the comparisons there, but I really did end up enjoying this movie. I would give it about a 3.8 out of 5. I mean, it is a popcorn movie, but it does have its heart in the right place. The special effects were fun, world hopping, going around, and then discovering things. I kind of always like when they discover hidden rooms in places that, have already been discovered. I don't know why. It seems implausible, but it's always fun when they do that.
I thought free drinks were included in this tour.
No, there's no free drinks. I don't know where you got that idea.
It said in the brochure.
The information you got is bullshit.
The next movie was Our Times, or Nuestros Tiempos. Now, this is a Spanish language time travel movie. We were just scrolling, I was like, oh, this looks interesting. And then since it was in Spanish, that would be more up on his list to watch, just because it's in his native language. And so we watched it, and it was very good. This movie, time travel, is almost like a gimmick to get us to a generation gap. And that's what is at the heart of this movie. It is the difference between male and female roles in society. And some people would say that this is a woke movie and it's just hitting you over the head. But I thoroughly enjoyed the ideas that it was bringing up about how a man and a woman in one time can be one thing, but then when they're displaced and put into another, all the stressors of the new society can really affect a relationship that seemed almost perfect in the past, but things can change. I really enjoyed how it looked at the different roles of males and females, and how the way a male would act in the past, bring that in the present. That person was golden then, but is looked on as a monster now, versus a woman who has so much talent, always had to lean on a man to get anything done, but in modern society, she shines, in fact, to the point where the man feels useless. It was a really interesting dynamic, and I would recommend it if you like those kind of moral conundrums, ideas about class, society change, and in this case, roles of the sexes. For that, I think that this movie really does shine. But there are going to be corny elements to this movie.
We don't need even fizzy drinks. Just water would be enough.
You got false information.
My husband loves to watch reality TV shows. So we picked one. He was like, hey, let's watch a show. We went on, I think it was Peacock, and we picked Destination X, and that is people ride around in a bus, and in this season they're in Europe. It's the first season. And they have to guess through clues that they're given. They have to zero in on a map of what city they think they are in. And the person who is farthest away from where they are gets eliminated. A lot of backstabbing goes on in this show. It quickly becomes cutthroat. The host is Jeffrey Dean Morgan from various things, you know, especially Walking Dead. Unfortunately, my husband and I didn't realize that it's an ongoing show, and there's only 7 episodes right now, I believe. We watched, I think, 6 of them. So we watched all of them except the most recent one, because he's like, no, I don't want to have just one. I hate when there's cliffhangers, so he wants to make sure that there are more episodes before we continue watching it. But we're thoroughly enjoying that show. But it is a reality TV show, so take that with a grain of salt. If you like reality TV shows where there are eliminations and you have to fight tooth and nail for your spot, then you will enjoy this one. Kind of like Traitors.
Free drinks now! No free drinks!
Come on, we want free drinks.
Free drinks.
Today we watched a movie called The Electric State. That stars Chris Pratt and, I forgot her name, the young woman from Stranger Things. I'm gonna have to say that this movie was a dud. It has amazing special effects. It was just boring, and they really tried too hard. You're supposed to like fall in love with the characters that are in the movie, and they're not real characters. They're all robots. But it just fell a little flat for me. I didn't really enjoy the movie that much. It just seemed to cover the same ground as so many other movies. I would give it a 2.5 out of 5. If you do like action movies, you know, with AI and robots taking over the world in a robot war, and AI being seen, you know, equal to humans, and the fighting for their own, like all of that kind of stuff, you might enjoy this, especially, you know, it's free if you have the streaming service. I believe we watched it on Netflix. But this movie for me was definitely a thumbs down. Not horrible, definitely watchable, but it just doesn't stand out.
You must give me free drinks immediately.
Drop it with the free drinks crap!
Now, the big movie that I saw this week was Superman. I absolutely loved it. I actually went to the theater. My daughter got free tickets, and she asked me if I wanted to go, and I was like, hell yes. So I met her at the theater, and wow, did I love that movie. No spoilers. I absolutely loved it from beginning to end. I loved the music in it. I loved how they took elements from the Christopher Reeve movies. I'm not going to spoil anything, but then they included them in this movie. For example, the titles of the movie, The Fortress of Solitude, the music. The score was based on that original Christopher Reeve music, but then they used elements from that score, and then they added it. They made an entire new score, but they built the basics around that music and expanded it. I love when they do those kind of things. The incidental actors in this movie were all great. So much fun. Everyone's talking about Crypto, and he was amazing. I don't know. I could just go on and on about this movie. But one of the biggest kicks that I got, I had no idea. Right at the end of the movie, there's a really important scene. I'll just say that Superman and Lois, they duck into a place and they do something there. Well, I'm not going to spoil it, but that I was like, I knew where that was. So that was filmed in Cleveland in an arcade. And I turned to my daughter who's been there, and I was like, that's Cleveland. And she was like, it's the arcade. And I'm like, yep. And so then I was clued into the fact that it was filmed in Cleveland. I didn't know that before. And then there's an after credits scene, and I was like, they're looking at a wall, and they pan and they show what's around it, and I'm like, yep, that's Cleveland. So now I need to watch the movie again just to see all the sites in Cleveland that I can find. That was a really cool thing. A lot of movies are actually filmed in Cleveland because it's a pretty depressed economy, and it's got that industrial feel to it, and I believe that a lot of companies can film there pretty cheaply. I know at least one of the Batman movies was also filmed in Cleveland, maybe more of them. Stevie D sent a picture of a drawing that he made of my husband. Thank you so much, Stevie D. He also sent some other sketches that he did. This is so cute. My husband does love it. So now we have to find out where we put it. You know what? Actually, right here would be good. There's a spot right next to the computer. Stevie, this might actually get hung up right next to the computer. So I'm thinking of doing that. So thank you so much for that, Stevie D. Sorry, the other sketches that you did, they're actually upstairs. I forgot to bring them down. And then right before I started filming this, I went to check, and there was a package from Donald Rex, and he sent me all of these comics. Now, we went half and half on another Charlton romance comics lot, and we won, and he sent me the ones that he already has doubles of, but I think he sent me more. So he threw some Archies in, and that was very nice of him. So I'm going to quickly go through these comics. They're so fun. So we have Love Diary. Here's a 50-cent Archie. Out jumping a 7-footer, and of course they're playing chess. Another Love Diary. I mean, these things are so much fun. Charlton comics really do need a lot more love. Oh, and that reminds me, as I'm scrolling through this, let me tell you that you should contact Donald Rex if you're interested in any of the books that he's been publishing. He did one on Nieto and another on another artist, Demetrios. I'm forgetting, but I've shown them. He's getting ready to do a third book on another artist, and the price is $100 plus $10 shipping. I think they're worth it. But since he's ordering another book, he is able to order other copies of the books that he's done. So if you contact him, he can order or have those books made for you. Why aren't I happy? Look at these awesome books. Sorry, Donald Rex, I should have written down the authors' names. I'm so bad with names. Here's this awesome Archie. I love it. These are 15-cent Archies. They're great. Look at this great cover on this one. Look at her. What do you call that? A bodice? Not a bodice, right? A girdle on the outside of her dress. She is no slave to love. I better not ever kiss him again. He almost made me forget what I'm really after. Here is another awesome Archie. I had to explain the joke. Look at this Love Diary. That's a great cover. Another Archie. Laugh Comics. Teen Confession. There are 2 more. This one is a little beat up. I don't mind that at all. It's really nice having these. Look at this romantic story. This one has a little gunk on the front, which I am actually going to remove. It's going to come off. You can see it. It's right there. But it does come off. Here is Heartbreak in All's. Thank you so much for those, Donald Rex. My Charlton romance comics are really increasing, and it's all thanks to you. And I'm actually really happy to have those comics. Now I really, really need to work on my Charlton horror. But of course, those always go for a lot more money. So I have 3 graphic novels to go over with you today. The first is Flung Out of Space. This is about Patricia Highsmith, the author. Now, this is an author who wrote Strangers on a Train and The Talented Mr. Ripley and The Taste of Salt, which became Carol, which became a movie. All 3 of those have been made into movies. Carol was an excellent movie. The Talented Mr. Ripley and, of course, Strangers on a Train, and she wrote many others. We're going to get into something problematic I have about her as a writer, but in the introduction to the... Oh, by the way, I found out about this book from Larry's Library. He did his 10, I think, best reads of the year so far, and this was on it. And as soon as he mentioned it, I was like, I've got to read that. So Patricia Highsmith was a lesbian. That was not an optimal time to be a homosexual. And this deals with a lot of the problems that she has in her life because she's this very outspoken person who is forced into all these situations that she really has no control over. Patricia Highsmith is a comic book writer, and she's struggling because she absolutely hates it. She puts it down constantly. She thinks it's a very low medium, which many people shared at the time, that it was only for kids, that it was trash. And the people around her, you know, they're working in this medium, and they constantly have to listen to her bitch about it and whine and complain. And she meets Stan Lee. In the introduction, the authors take the time to talk about how Patricia Highsmith was such a very complicated individual. And they make pains to let you know that she is not a good person. She was very bigoted. She says the protagonist of this story is not a good person. In fact, Patricia Highsmith was an appalling person. She was deeply anti-Semitic, racist, and misogynistic, even by the standards of her time. I am not being hyperbolic when I say that many of her beliefs were nothing short of evil, and I know I speak for Hannah and the rest of this book's team when I say that we condemn these beliefs as vehemently as possible. Although this is not a story directly about her prejudices, this book contains instances of Pat's bigotry. Now, that's a very, very bold statement to make before you start reading it, and then they really don't show that. They show her, I think, 2 times saying anti-Semitic remarks. She certainly does not like the men around her. And I get that she's forced in this situation creatively, and she just feels stuck. She wants to be with women. She wants to write about what she wants to write about. She's stuck in this medium that she feels is beneath her. As someone who loves comics, I mean, I get that that idea was there in the past, that comics was a really bad medium, that it was trash, that it was just disposable. You know, these things were meant to be read and thrown away. We're lucky we have so many of them that have lasted. Now, I'm not saying this book is bad. I actually really, really loved it. It is really good, and it is worthy on being one of your top reads. It's actually a really quick read as well. The art is nice. It's serviceable. It's very, in some ways, manga-ish. There's some great 2-page spreads of art. That opening section, they made all these claims about her, and then they showed her being a woman frustrated. And she does, like I said, she meets Stan Lee, and he doesn't hide the fact that he's Jewish. He says his last name is Lieber. And then they spend the entire evening together. And it doesn't seem like someone who is that anti-Semitic to the point of being an evil person, if they truly hated Jews that much, would spend an entire evening and then actually start working with them. So, I don't know, like, the claims that they make in the beginning of the book aren't really shown in the book. And if they're going to make these claims that she's a horrible person, then show me why. Why was she so horrible? Yes, she might have had some opinions that weren't likable. I get it. She made anti-Semitic remarks, and she wasn't very nice to the people around her. She also would do things like blatantly sleep with married women and then sometimes throw it in the husband's face. I mean, yeah, she wasn't a pleasant person, but I never got a sense of her being an evil monster. I don't know, that introduction just was so out of place. And if that's the way she was, why isn't it shown more in this book? These authors, I mean, I guess you didn't do a good job showing your subject, because if you're going to make all those wild claims at the beginning and then you don't actually show it in the book. So what I was thinking about is this an example of wokeness to the point where if you do even the least little thing wrong, you've got to be condemned as a monster? So I saw a very flawed woman who did some bad things, but she in no way seemed like a monster to me. She was constantly in therapy. She was trying to work out her issues. She was an outspoken woman on her own, working in a male field, trying to become a writer, getting no respect, trying to have a successful open love life in a time when that wasn't allowed. I think that would mess up anybody, not to the point that it would make you anti-Semitic. I just want to know more of why she was such an evil monster. It is a very, very good read. I do like the way that they take you through what her life is like. The things that go on in her life really affect what she writes. She would have thought bubbles, and we would see what would go into her novels. And if you're familiar with her novels at all, you would see, like, that was a good thing. They didn't, like, beat you over the head. They would give you images, and you would have to know her work to say, oh, that's from this, or that's from that, or she's writing this, or she's doing that. Sorry, Larry's Library. I'm very torn about this book, but I do think it is an excellent starting point. But I was thrown off by that introduction. But I do want to talk about something that also, an issue that was raised while I was reading this book, because there was a long time in Hollywood the idea of the gay psycho. Gays who have to be, like, because homosexuality was seen as a disease, they were always psychotics and murderers. She was actually trying to get Carol published, which was a lesbian novel. And it was constantly rejected because it had a happy ending. And they kept telling her, no, these characters have to die. If you want this to get published, something bad has to happen to them. They have to be punished. They can't have a happy ending. She stuck to her guns, and she finally got it published, but it had to be published in pulp form. So back to the point I was making. So she wrote gay characters like the talented Mr. Ripley and the guy from Strangers on a Train. They're gay psychos. She did a lot to help, perpetuate that stereotype, that gay people are always sickos and that they kill people and that they're evil. And Hitchcock, of course, did Strangers on the Train. And then, I don't know. It's just, and it was funny because she was told in her, for her second book that it couldn't be published. These people have to, they have to be punished. And I haven't examined her writing that much, which I think I might change. And I actually need to read Strangers on a Train because that might have been Hitchcock who made the changes to that character rather than the author. In order to rectify that, I'm going to read the books in order of Patricia Highsmith so that I have a more informed, at least personal opinion about those books. I already went ahead, and her first novel is Strangers on a Train, and I put that in my library queue. It actually has a hold, and so I will be reporting on that. Yay you! After I read that.
You are a shitty businessman. You know that, no?
And you're a bunch of fucking cunts!
Okay, the next graphic novel I read was Fantastic Four Full Circle by Alex Ross. Now, this was a gift to me from Damien Sleepy Reader 666 when he came into town. He bought the larger version, and he had this one, and I was like, hell yes, I'll take it, because I've been meaning to buy this, and I absolutely love Alex Ross art. This thing is gorgeous. It's fun. At one point, when they're in the negative zone, I actually thought it was glow in the dark, and I actually took it in the bathroom and closed the curtains and tried to get it absolutely dark. I don't think it is, but they do mention, the thing mentions black light in here once. I think this might be something that you could use, that it will look cool in black light. Now, I'm going to be showing photos. So this is Alex Ross art, and I mean, it's stunning from beginning to end. And even the cover of the book, which I'm going to show you right now. So here is the actual book without the what do you call it, the book cover, the paper that wraps around it. So when you have this, this one, so this is the book cover, right? But this flap opens up and gives you a history of the origin or it goes over the origin of the Fantastic Four. So right there. Cool book. Sleepy warned me. This revisits some ideas that happened in a comic. And I actually, as I started reading it, I remembered those comics. If you have a little bit of a familiarity with some of the adventures that the Fantastic Four had when they went into the negative zone, you'll be better able to understand this. But I don't think you actually need it. This was a fun, self-contained story with fantastic art. I recommend it just for the art alone. And I did really enjoy the story, and I want to thank Sleepy for giving me this because I've wanted this for a while, and now I own it.
Potato!
Sorry, but what?
Potato!
I don't understand. Can you say that again?
Potato!
So there we have my Friday night chat. I hope that you enjoyed this. Of course, any comments that you have are greatly appreciated. As always, like I said, I appreciate all your support. Any comments that you make are really greatly appreciated.
Free drinks! Free drinks! No! Free drinks!